Ha guys, let's get more news about Warriors, but first don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Untimely injury could drastically shift Warriors trade plans. The Golden State Warriors got an important 121-3 victory over the Memphis Grizzlies at Chase Center on Saturday night, but it wasn't all positive for the franchise, who experienced a concerning ankle injury. For Jonathan Kuminga, Kuminga left the game late in the second quarter after an awkward fall on the defensive end, putting an end to what was a promising start that had already yielded 13 first-half points. The young forward is expected to see a stint on the sidelines, having left the game on crutches, while Steve Kerr labeled the ankle sprain as significant. First and foremost, the injury comes at an incredibly disappointing time for Kuminga, who was just starting to blossom into a star thanks to consistent opportunity over recent weeks. The 22-year-old had led the Warriors in scoring over the previous 6 games, averaging 24.3 points, 8.0 rebounds and 3.2 assists on over 52% shooting from the floor. Kuminga's recent impressive performances had also revived question marks on his future, with The Athletic reporting on Saturday that the former 7th overall pick shouldn't be considered untouchable as the deadline approaches. While a multi-week injury wouldn't completely erase the chances of Kuminga being traded in the next month, teams would undoubtedly be more cautious in trying to acquire an injured player, but perhaps more so than Kuminga's own future, his injury could drastically shift the front office's plans with other players on the roster. Kyle Anderson will clearly be the biggest beneficiary of the Kuminga injury from a playing standpoint, having played nearly 22 minutes on Saturday. That included over 10 in the fourth quarter alone. The veteran forward's versatile impact was on display, with Anderson recording 7 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal and 2 blocks in the 8-point win. The 31-year-old had seen 5 TMPS in the previous 9 games and hadn't seen 20 miles Newts in a game since November 10 in Oklahoma City. Despite having only signed a 3-year $27 million contract during free agency, Anderson's place out of the rotation was making him appear like a prime trade candidate for the Warriors ahead of the February 6 deadline. Now, in the wake of Kuminga's injury, Anderson is needed more than ever. "I'm just glad we have the depth that we do. I'm glad we have Kyle. There's a reason we signed him," Steve Kerr said during his post-game press conference. Anderson's $8.8 million contract could still be helpful in a trade, but it's much harder to trade a veteran who's needed for 20 minutes per game than one who's out of the rotation completely. The Athletic also reported on Saturday that the Warriors have interest in Chicago Bulls center Nikola Vujic, with the mid-tier salaries of Anderson, Gary Payton II and/or Kevin Looney potentially crucial in a deal for the 2x All-Star ascending Kings V to beat Heat. The Miami Heat will try to avenge an earlier defeat to the Sacramento Kings on Monday night, but will have to do so without the suspended Jimmy Butler when they tip off a 6-game road trip. Butler had 27 points for the Heat on November 4, but it wasn't enough as Domantas Sabonis hit a buzzer-beating jumper to lift the Kings to a 111-110 win in Miami. Sabonis finished with 16 points and 16 rebounds. The rematch will similarly catch the Kings in a positive mood, while the Heat have been trending in a negative direction. A little less than 2 weeks since head coach Mike Brown was fired, the Kings have won 4 in a row under interim coach Doug Christie. The fourth of the wins came in impressive fashion Sunday night when Sacramento blitzed the rival Golden State Warriors 129-99 on the road, despite De'Aaron Fox sitting out with a bruised right glute. Fox, who had a game-high 28 points in the earlier win in Miami, remained a question mark for the second night of Sacramento's back-to-back set. He took a hard fall in Friday's 138-133 home win over the Memphis Grizzlies with awe. Without Fox, DeMar DeRozan sees a lot of guys pulling on the rope these days. "We all want to win, we're all competitors," DeRozan said. "We all hated when we were in the slump that we were in. The only way out of that was to stick together. The only way to get out of stuff like that was to pull together and to pull through it. I think that's just where we're at right now." Malik Monk 26 points and Sabonis 22 points had big offensive games at Golden State, but Christie was most pleased with a defensive effort that held a third opponent in the last 4 games games to 107 or points or less. That is our identity, that is what we're searching for. Creasy said, so when we continue to go out and touch people and be an irritant, that's really what defense is about. It's positioning schemes. Yeah, I get all that, but it's who wants to continue on it, who wants the ball the most, who's willing to go the furthest and get dirty. The Heat will begin their western swing without Butler, who was suspended for 7 games last week for conduct detrimental to their team pending a successful Al Butler will miss the entire trip after already having been banned from Saturday's 136-100 home drubbing at the hands of the Utah Jazz. Top Warriors trade targets after Dennis Schroeder deal. The Golden State Warriors are struggling for a second straight season as they haven't landed Stephen Curry, a co-star. The Warriors added Dennis Schroeder in a trade with the Nets to improve their roster, but that can't be their final move. The 36-year-old Curry is still playing at a superstar level. The Warriors must be active ahead of the deadline if they want to give him a shot at a 5th ring. In the final years of his career, Curry is averaging 22.5 points, 4.9 rebounds, 6.3 assists and 1.1 steals per game. The superstar guard is shooting 45.2% from the field and 42% from 3. Curry is under contract with the Warriors for 3 more seasons and the team needs to add another star to complement him. The deal for Schroeder improved Golden State's roster as they sent to Anthony Melton, who's out for the season, and 3 second-round picks for the 31-year-old guard. Schroeder is alleviating some on-ball duties from Curry, but his numbers have dipped with the Warriors. Schroeder is averaging just 9.9 points, 2.3 rebounds and 4.4 assists in 10 games with Golden State. He is shooting an inefficient 32.4% from the floor and 28.3% from deep. While the addition of Schroeder has been nice, Golden State needs to add more to their roster. With that said, here are the 3 top Warriors trade targets after their Dennis Schroeder deal. Warriors land disgruntled Heat forward Jimmy Butler. While their Warriors have gone back and forth on whether a Jimmy Butler deal is worthwhile, he could be the star. Golden State meets alongside Curry. Butler is serving a 7-game suspension from the Miami Heat as he publicly stated his unhappiness with the team. The Heat are now listening to offers for the disgruntled superstar. Butler is in the last year of his deal, making $48.8 million this season with a $524 player option for next season. The 35-year-old is averaging 17.6 points, 5 rebounds, 4.7 assists and 1.2 steals per game. He is shooting an efficient 55.2% from the field and 37.5% from downtown. A deal for Butler is more complicated for Golden State after acquiring Schroeder. However, if the Warriors believe he is the star that fits well next to Curry, they must find a way to get it done. And you fan, what do you think of the situation of Jimmy Butler? Leave your opinion in the comments.